Well, all right. Welcome back, everybody. We've got another installment of our student highlight series with Harding School of Theology. And today we have Joseph with us. Joseph, how about you introduce yourself, where you're living, your ministry context, a bit about your family. We'd love to get started that way.
Yeah, thank you. My name is Joseph Morien. I'm formerly from Wisconsin, but I'm living down here in Ozark, Arkansas now. I'm a preaching minister at Ozark, Arkansas for a church of about 50, 60 people pre-COVID. I don't know how do we quantify numbers now that
Yeah.
that COVID exists, but
I think you can make it whatever metric you want and just go with that.
right, we were 400, and then it's just everybody stopped coming. So no, we're a nice retirement church, kind of an older style church, and they wanted some young blood, so they actually hired a really young minister compared to themselves. And I've never been to Arkansas before. I took this job and didn't know anybody here. But I met my wife at college through church camps and through summer camps, and so we got married in the summer of '05. I was a teacher. I went to York College in Nebraska I took the 6-year marriage program at York. All those Church of Christ marriage programs, they extend your life at college a little bit further. So we took the 6-year program, loved it. Did my teaching there. Finished up, and I was a math teacher for 4 years in Arizona and Kansas. And so just the way that we were able to serve God through to teaching. My wife was a special ed helper and parent, so we got to work in the classrooms, and also we got to work with the churches in Arizona and Great Bend and Manhattan as we kind of just lived normal lives of people just in the church. And so we didn't have any kids until actually we both got into ministry. So we had 8.5 years without kids and got to use a lot of our time to serve and do other things. And then as soon as I got into ministry, my wife took one more year, and then she got into ministry right after I did, and then we got pregnant with our daughter. So right now we have a 6-year-old daughter, Jocelyn, and we have a 14-month-old JJ Jackson. And so we've been struggling with a little bit of sleep ourselves from time to time. He hasn't quite been sleeping through the night. He gets close, but not quite yet. So we get a lot of flexibility with our time. The job here has allowed us to let Jelena stay as a stay-at-home mom. And so she gets to stay at home. And so she's picked up a couple of jobs helping different people around the town. One at a consignment store that's run by a preacher and his wife, mainly his wife. And then another one, she gets to work at a bakery for a day or two, just kind of helping out, making good. She's really good at making cakes and stuff. And so probably hasn't helped the middle figure as far
I was about to say that's a dangerous part-time job to have.
Yeah, every time she brings home food, it's just never a good thing for the midriff. But at the same time, just it's helped her get out of the house, kind of keep him, alive, and just actually kind of incorporate more into the community around us in Ozark here. So Ozark's about 3,800 people, so kind of a small town. Different from where Jelena's from. She's from Phoenix, so one of the biggest cities in the country. And so I'm from a village of 2,000 in Wisconsin, so this is actually big from where I'm from growing up. And so the dynamic of small town America was new to her when we came here, but at the same time, between York and different places, she kind of started to get the feel for it. And then this is the smallest place she's ever lived, and so we've kind of molded into this environment. The church was really great. This is the first preaching job I ever had. Backing up a little.
Your first ministry job, or just
no? Actually, I was going to back up just a little bit. So when I was a teacher, we lived in Junction City, Kansas, and we were in Manhattan Church for 2 years, and then we helped with the campus ministry program and the youth ministry program there with Carrie McCall. That also happens to be the former employment place of Matt Carter. So we got a really great tie-in with Matt Carter. He did a wonderful job of working with Cats for Christ and the campus ministry program at Kansas State. And so when I came in, we came there in 2010. We just kind of got bits and pieces of Matt here and there. We started to take kids down to Gulf Coast Getaway in Florida, which is never a bad thing when you just get a weekend off and on the Panama City Beach of Florida, just the way to go. And so there were some things that happened with the church, and Carrie left, and the campus ministry program needed someone to help. And so we helped for a year, along with a couple other people. And then Jelena and I actually on that trip, the first trip to Florida, we just kind of looked at each other and we said, we could do this full time if the church wanted to support us. And so we kind of came back and gave the church, the elders, a proposal saying, hey, if you wanted to support us full time, it's something I can transition from teaching into ministry for. Yeah. It took a little bit of time, and then the support was needed to be raised from the congregation, and they stepped up and were able to fund my position. Wow. A year later, they stepped up. I had an intern for a year as a campus minister, and we were paying her, and then she left to go take another job, and so my wife was able to take part of that salary, and she took the children's education coordinator position. And so I had campus ministry and youth ministry, and she had children's education coordinator position and a newborn. And so we had college kids through babies at our house 24/7 for 3.5 years. And so it was
had like the slew of ministry positions y'all are working together with. That's great.
Oh yeah, it was phenomenal. They were really great about letting me get my feet wet. I've been truly blessed in ministry to have just opportunities to sink into where I'm at. And they had, like I said, they had raised funds so that they could support me as a minister, and as a campus and youth minister, I got to get my feet wet. I got so many opportunities to go to NCM. Yeah, I always get the acronyms mixed up. And
yeah, I do too.
NCYM and whatever the youth ministry, the campus ministry, the Campus for Christ, the different groups and different things that I fit into. I kind of fit into all of them and none of them at the same time, because doing campus and youth ministry at the same time is so difficult. Yeah. I've never met a person that can do it successfully. Mm-hmm. I tried and couldn't do it. I mean, they thought I did successfully, but it can't be done. I mean, it takes an energy that rivals Jesus Christ himself. So, and twice just twice who I am. So it was an amazing experience. I loved it. I would love to see what I could do in one capacity. Mm-hmm. Only campus ministry or only youth ministry, but trying to do both. I just knew I wasn't giving enough of myself to each. And so I knew I was shorting themselves. Like I said, they were really supportive of what they had at the church and the parent groups that I had, and then the church leadership that they had, and also the campus ministry program that we built up. From the year off that we took between 11 and 12, when we didn't have a campus minister, we went down to about 3 to 5 campus ministry students. Mm-hmm. And so we started with that. And in 3 years, we were up to about 25, 30. And so that was just kind of where we started to put student leadership in place, and kind of I could really see the program kind of growing back to the heydays, because Matt Carter ran it. It was one of the most successful ones in the country. Mm-hmm. And they carried it a really good job until the last year or so, when they had some problems and he had to step aside. So I was really proud of where we left it and kind of what we did there, kind of helping the church transition. But at the same time, they ran into some problems with money, and as churches do, kind of hit a rough spot. And so they kind of let everybody on staff go at one time. They let the preacher go, they let myself go, they let my wife go, they let the secretary go, but luckily they were able to bring her back. So, and just kind of clean sweep changes that kind of went through. We decided to stay. We were there the next. They let us go on Monday, and we were there the next Wednesday. Just to try and keep some unity in the church and try to transition through that. Mm-hmm. And I think we really helped them, and they kind of helped us in that process. They let us go January of 16, and we didn't find a job until June 1st of 16. So they kind of supported us for 6 months and kind of helped us kind of get through that, kind of pushed us through where we needed to go. And that was a really interesting time. And it's kind of like right now, and I'll get to that in a minute, but if I would have known I had 6 months off of ministry, you would have really enjoyed it. You're like, hey, I'd take 6 months and just relax and play some golf and just kick it and just enjoy myself. But the unknowns of you have a family now, you have it's not just me and Jelena living out of a van or something. If we had to go somewhere, but we have our daughter was 2, and we just kind of had those unknown times of where we're going to go and how we're going to serve, because they let us go. And we were still at the church. We couldn't serve in our capacity because I needed somebody else to fill our void.
Yes.
And they needed to feel that kind of emptiness, and who's going to step up and take those roles. And so for the first time in forever, we were at a church and weren't able to serve. And that's kind of a hollow feeling to know you were so invested, and then all the jobs that you were doing, somebody else is doing them.
Wow.
And just that transition was really humbling. And I loved how they stepped up and took the jobs, and the campus ministry was taken over by a couple that's still there, but he had graduated and she was in college. And so a young married couple kind of took the reins of it and kept it afloat, and they're doing pretty well. And I'm really proud of them. My sister and brother-in-law had moved there a couple of years before, and so they kind of took over some of the other aspects that we were doing.
Gotcha.
And a couple of the families took over some of the youth ministry roles that we were doing, kind of tried to do that as well. They'd never had a youth minister before me, and so they kind of were used to living without one. So that transition was a little bit easier for them than the campus ministry one. So
and how long have you been in Ozark now? What's you're serving at?
So yeah, we started this job June 1st of 16. So this will be going on 5 years.
Wow.
Which is funny because it's actually the longest place I've been in one place teaching. We moved 3 times, and then campus ministry, and we were there for 3.5 years. And so this is I've always, every job I've always taken, I've always told them I'd give a minimum of 5 years. And this is the first time where I'm hoping I actually can follow through on that through to June. But
like it. Yeah. So tell me about your, so you've had a bit of a journey to get to Ozark where you are now.
Yeah.
What was your journey like to get to HST and start taking courses with Harding?
Yeah, Harding was kind of a blessing for us. Like I said, Matt Carter was always in my ear when he'd come back for alumni and reunions and just doing campus ministry stuff. I'd run into him all the time at NCMS and on NCYM and different things like that. And so he just kept putting a bug in my ear, saying, "Hey, this is a program," and I'm taking the certificate program through HST, and so that's really geared towards ministers, in my opinion. Just the content and the way in which it's set up is really great for preachers. And as a youth minister, just didn't, and a campus minister didn't fit what I could do at the time. But as I got here and kind of got settled, I really felt like I needed just to dig in a little bit more into the word, into more of a schooling. I'm an academic by my nature as a teacher, and so I kind of missed that aspect of being taught. When you're a teacher and you're teaching so much, you're pouring into so many other people, that every once in a while you just kind of look around and be like, I need to find a way to get poured into myself.
That's right.
And while there were avenues that I probably could have taken other ways, HST kind of fell in my lap as a perfect opportunity for me. And so I kept meeting Matt down at Gulf Coast Getaway, kept meeting Matt down at different places, and I really got a chance to get pulled in by him as a recruiter, but also just as a fellow minister and a friend, just to say, hey, this could really do you some good. And so my first class was actually with you at HST and in person, the only one I got to take in person at advanced theological research. And that week we got to spend together was really great. And just the time at HST, I was blessed to the job that I do to be able to take one class. We kind of designed it so that I would take one class and kind of really focus on one thing at a time. If it's theological research or spiritual leadership, counseling, or the Acts Bible class. I just finished with Acts, and so it's just one of those things where I could do my job, but then take one class and kind of focus in on that, and then hopefully the eldership here is so gracious into helping me with that and giving me the time to do it, but also go lay down, Max. Sorry, my dog's bugging me. But also just being supportive, and then they get the opportunity to hear on the back end kind of what I was working on and researching and doing stuff. And so they've enjoyed me taking those classes and kind of getting to see what I learned and then getting to pass on to them. They've been growing and stretching from that experience. And so I've really enjoyed just some amazing teachers that I've had. And I got Dr. Hufford's last class that he ever taught at HST when he retired. I got his very last class, and just to be able to get poured into by Dr. Oster and Dr. Gray and Bob Turner has just been an amazing blessing in my life. And so it's just been one of those things where it kind of came at the right time for me, and really just kind of hit me in a place where the certificate program lets you go your own pace and kind of allows you to kind of take it as it works for me. And so I've really appreciated the structure of that in my life right now where we're at, and especially having a newborn and working full time and kind of juggling all that stuff. was really a blessing at the time that it came to me.
Yeah. And I loved what you said about these classes. You felt like you needed someone or something to pour back into you because you pour so much into other people with your family and your kids and your church. I think that's so right and so true. That's something I've experienced when I was doing ministry full time, was just I needed someone else to pour into me. That's what HST was for me as well. And that kind of goes into our next and final question is, in ministry and balancing classes and family, what have you learned keeps you kind of spiritually grounded or healthy? Or if you're not, that's also something I think we talk about on here is there's seasons that are high and seasons that are low. So I'd love just to hear your thoughts on that a little bit.
Yeah, definitely. I'm kind of in a different season I'm normally in. I've been like I said, I've moved so much and I've changed that I've never really got to sink my teeth into one. And right now I'm kind of experiencing kind of a down season in my life. And I don't know if it's that 5-year, itch for preachers and different things where they struggle with it. But this last semester has been really tough for me, spiritually and with my family and personally. And I'm sure it's a mixture of everything, with COVID, with everything that's going on in my life. And so I got some great advice when I was younger, from Matt Carter specifically, and then from other people as well. The first thing I always did when I took a job was this job, and the other one was specifically pick one day that was my day off.
Yep.
It's always been Tuesday for me. This job has allowed me to have a second day, and so as much of Monday as I can, because after church you always got stuff you got to follow up on Mondays. I've tried to make Mondays my family day, and then Tuesday is my personal day, and then kind of work the rest of the week up till Sunday, and then kind of try to do that again. That's been my routine and my goal, and it's worked for me. I know it doesn't work for other teachers and preachers and different stuff, but that's kind of been our setup for the last 4 years here, and it's worked. Except we were it was so funny because during COVID when it hit, I felt myself staying positive. I felt myself staying encouraging, trying to work through all the struggles of shutting down a church for a while, going virtually online preaching for a while, and just through Zoom. And then, when we were able to get back in the building, encouraging people, trying to alleviate all their worries and problems about staying healthy. And then ironically, right during that time, I was actually taking my counseling class and Dr. Gray. And so we got to talk about that. And it was a blessing during COVID to be able to spend 2 months talking about counseling and how it would affect us and everybody else. And so I think that carried me through really well until November, December. And I just kind of hit this really wall of maybe just pouring into so many other people so much. And I really kind of hit this downturn maybe the last 2-3 months. And I've really felt it with my family and how it's affected me and my relationship with them. And I don't know. I hope it hasn't affected my church and my work, because I went from teaching 4 classes every week to teaching one. I would do 2 sermons and 2 lessons. I did that for 4 years, and all of a sudden when COVID hit, I got to teach one sermon, and that's been a small blessing in itself, because then you kind of get to recharge and kind of dig into more of just one thing. But at the same time, it's also kind of given me a lot more free time to kind of get in my own head and my own space. And the devil does amazing things on a negative side when you are giving him areas to work. We were so busy for 3 years in Manhattan, and so busy for the first couple of years that we were here trying to learn a new job and kind of work and serve and get to know people that you don't have time to get in trouble with God, with forgetting about God. You don't have time to get in trouble with emptiness and nothing. And then all of a sudden that kind of hits you and you don't know what to do. And so Satan was doing some craziness in our life, and we just, Jelena got depressed for a while. I kind of helped her through that, but then that kind of led me to kind of being depressed on the other side and working through it. And I've always had seasonal depression, and it's really odd. That's this like 2-3 week window in February where you've got outside and in 4 months, and you haven't seen the green grass in 4 months in Wisconsin and different stuff. And so that there's always that 2-3 weeks that I worked through, but this was like something I've never experienced, these 2-3 months of just kind of pushing everybody else through and hoping everybody else is good, and maybe even just neglecting myself. And I've never been physically as heavy and as out of shape as I have been right now, and just this idea of not being able to get out and do much with the crazy ice storm that actually felt like Wisconsin this last 2 weeks, and just everything else. And so I'm sorry I don't have positive news, but I know that I'm rebounding. I'm coming back. I've taken this semester off of HST just to mainly focus on myself and my family. I know that if I don't have a good support network here, my ministry struggles, my personal life struggles, and we've started to come back, spend more time together, and doing different things that really kind of focus on them and us together as a group. And so I've seen the light at the end of the tunnel. I've kind of turned the corner of getting back in touch with God and him and talking to me and being able to hear him. Most of the time when I get down, it's because I'm too busy to stop and listen. And so right now I've just kind of taken that time, and we've kind of reconnected, and I know I have a long way to go yet, but at the same time, the teachings from HST have really helped. The friendships I have here, the church have really helped. The leadership has been really supportive of me. And even when I told them in January that I was going to take this semester off, you can kind of see the letdown, because they were really excited about the next class I was taking and how they would benefit from it. But also they understood. They said, look, you got to take care of yourself. You need to take care of what's most important. And, a healthy me is better for the church and all in the long run. And so they've been so supportive in their way of giving me what I need in time and space. And so I want to encourage people to do the one thing that I wasn't able to do. When you're doing 4 lessons a week, personal Bible study on the side, it's really hard to squeeze that time into it, because you're always studying for your next lesson. You're always learning something or putting something away for your next class or your next analogy or your next thing. And I wasn't able to keep up. And then this vast void that I've had, that habit wasn't there. And so I've kind of, even though I've had all this time, I haven't kept up as I should with my personal Bible study and my learning outside of HST. And so maybe that's one thing I would just encourage people with, is you got to find time for that thing, your personal prayer life, your personal time to just study. I took an hour and just read through a book of the Bible, straight. Normally you're focused on one page or one section or one chapter. And it's just amazing that I just read through the whole thing. I'm like, that fits a whole lot better as an entire thought than it just does one chapter. And it was like, no, that's just kind of something that's lost on me. And I'm sure I knew at some point, I just kind of forgot in different things. And so always learning is just quite an amazing thing. And so just my prayers and encouragement for those of you who are going through those times, and I appreciate everybody in my life that's reached out to me. HST during the break would reach out to me and ask me how I was doing. Different ministers that I know kind of reach out to me, and sadly I did the thing I shouldn't have done. I didn't take their call. I didn't take the time to go out to lunch with them, and it probably prolonged this time in my life to where I'm going back and apologizing now for not doing that and different things. And so just a time where I hope I never have to do this, so I learn from my own mistakes again.
Man, Joseph, thank you so much for those very honest and open words. I think that's something we all need to hear, especially your ability to see that maybe in the moment or maybe on the end of the season, and be able to say, okay, I need to take a time off. I need to take a semester off. And I think in ministry and as ministers, that's so hard to do. It's so hard to say, no, like people can keep going on without me, or no, I need this break. I think there's a temptation to just power through, keep on doing it because that's what we need or what other people need. So I appreciate that. And I think that's a word that whoever gets to watch this really, really needs to hear. So I thank you for the honesty. I hope it was a spiritual healing time for you to just kind of share that. I really appreciate it. So we'll wrap this up pretty quick, but we always end with a few kind of rapid fire questions at the end. So we'll just get right into them. First one, if you could have dinner with one person from the Bible, who would it be and why?
Would it be probably Job?
Okay, wow. I don't know if we've had that one yet. That's great. Do you have like one sentence on why?
Just what that man would tell you he went through, and how his life was changed and his perspective changed after that.
Yeah, that's great. What is your favorite movie?
My favorite movie is Inception.
Oh, great. It's a good movie. Good movie. What is a favorite book you've read this past year or past couple of years?
1 Peter.
Okay, that's awesome. That's great.
Yeah, I really I dug into First Peter. I read it, I reread it. I got to preach on it for a long time. So I've really enjoyed that book this year.
Awesome. And last one, what's one thing you love about the city or town that you live in?
I love the pace of life here. It's a retirement community. It's very go at your own style, go at your own speed. It's not too fast for older people, but it allows younger people to kind of have traction as well and kind of do what they need to do. And so just the pace of life and the ability to slow down and take in the moment here with nature and different stuff is quite a blessing for our little town of Ozark here.
Man, that's great. Joseph, thank you so much for joining us today. I hope you were blessed by this. And I know whoever's watching this is going to be blessed by it as well. So it's so good to see you, man. Have a good one.
Hey, thank you, brother. Appreciate it.
Yeah. Bye.